Good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to join with you once again. It is always our pleasure to come in to be with you. And as usual, we would like for everyone to become still in mind. Center into this moment now and be. Breathe and release any thoughts of anything at all, really. Just be present here and now, remembering that this now moment is the only moment that truly is. And in this moment is love. In fact, love is always present. You just simply are not always aware of its presence. But right here and right now, awareness of it is possible. It is always possible. But in this moment now, as you are quiet in the mind, just breathe and flow with all that truly is, which is love. So, in this moment now, we are here, and you are as well. So what we'd like to talk about today is this: forgiveness. This is a time of forgiveness. In fact, there has never been a time that has not been of forgiveness. But right here and right now, it is loud and clear that forgiveness is needed. Remember that forgiveness and love is one. It is the same. Forgiveness that we speak of is unconditional, is uncompromising. Uncompromising forgiveness is forgiveness that includes everyone and everything into it and excludes nothing, you see. True forgiveness overlooks all error. True forgiveness is given by the Holy Spirit, who sees clearly where you do not. Now is the time, greater than ever, for you to practice this kind of forgiveness where you hand it all over to the Holy Spirit and ask for the forgiveness to be given through you and with you. Remember, it is always a decision of the mind. So this is a decision one must make in order for this to happen, for you to experience it. Now breathe in this moment now. We love you. In fact, we always love you. There is nothing but love for you, and you are nothing but love in truth. Now, we are aware that there are many questions. In fact, this time around, many questions have been received. We will do our very best to get to all of them, but we will see as we go along. Now, we are ready for the first question.
First question. I experienced a traumatic brain injury and lost my career. My mother passed in February. We sold her house in July, excuse me, and my family exhausted her account, so we don't have the money to cover all the costs of the funeral. My question is how to process and address the anger I have toward the family, and what is my purpose?
Wonderful. So, first of all, breathe. Remember that nothing that you experience is outside of your own mind. you see, that in this situation that you seem to be experiencing, nothing is being done to you, but it's part of what is going on in your mind. We were going to say, how would it feel to simply be at peace with what is? Now, we're going to say as well, you can tell that there are some attachments that are, of course, sent out of how things should work out in these situations. This will always lead to a loss of peace. And if the questioner is available, does this make sense to you? Do you follow where we are going?
I also forgot to add this person is the executor.
Wonderful. We simply want to make certain that what we are conveying to you is understood. So, if you receive a response, please let us know. What we were going to say is this. Now, be in this moment now. Let's let go of all of the it should have been like this, or if it had only worked out like this, and just be at peace with what is. Because if it were not to be this way, it wouldn't have been this way, you see. So what is where you will find peace. Being at peace with it, you see. Now we were going to say, can you imagine being without the story? Because this is a story. It is a simple story of the way things should have been or should be. And it did not go in accordance to the way a story was telling you it should be. Imagine you without a story. Imagine the situation without a story. In fact, without a story, the situation doesn't even exist. Does this make sense to you? So, when anger arises about it, remind the mind that this is part of a story and the story is not true. Your true being is isness itself, which has no story at all. It just is and is at peace at all times. Look to that for everything. Look to that feeling of peace in every situation. So, whenever, as we were saying, anger arises, instead of judging it or instead of pushing it away, even, just remind the mind of what is true and let the anger go. We know that doesn't feel easy to just let it go, but that's only because the story is so rooted in your mind right now. But as you go along, just keep the forgiveness up. You see, you've got to keep forgiving and forgiving each time anger arises. Hand it to the Holy Spirit, ask for forgiveness, ask for the correction. Eventually it will subside, eventually it will be released. The trick is to really release it. Don't bring it back, because the mind will try to bring it back. What is the past is over and no longer exists. You see, but the mind will bring it up, the mind will keep bringing it up, and the mind we speak of is the lower mind, which would be the ego, of course. So you want to come into the true essence of your being, which is isness itself. Meditate on this. Contemplate yourself as pure and innocent. And remember, you are innocence itself. In fact, everyone is, even those that you feel you are angry at. They are all innocent. You are innocent. None of this is real. It does not exist. Be who you are and accept the peace and hand everything else to the Holy Spirit. Does this answer your question? Wonderful. Thank you.
I'll read one more from that we received ahead of time, and then we'll start taking some questions being given to us online right now. The question is, as a grandma to children ages 9 through 16, how can I help them connect to their true inner self?
Beautiful question. This is a very beautiful question. So, actually, all of the questions are beautiful questions. We want everyone to know. Because each question brings forth more wisdom that we can convey. But this one is particularly wonderful because here you can teach, well, convey to your children or grandchildren how to truly be one with yourself. So we want you to begin to talk to them about your own experience with this work, with the work that you are doing now, with coming into awareness of awakening, and how that is for you, and what you can have a conversation with them about it. Something we were going to suggest is begin to talk about moving from focusing in the mind and turning into the heart. Does this make sense? Meaning, instead of listening to what the head is saying, listen to what the heart is saying instead. So, feelings of clarity and also opinions do not matter. They are nothing. You and who you really are is everything. Getting in touch with this and being solid in it is important. So talk about how important it is and how it feels good to really center into yourself at the beginning of your day, setting intentions for how you would like the day to feel, what you would like to experience, and so on. And have them then retune in throughout the day. Talk about that. We want to talk about this like this because we would say to you that it is more powerful for you to simply have a conversation with them rather than telling them what to do. Does this make sense? Because it helps them to feel the inclusion of them as equals, because they are your equals. Remember, nothing of the world is real. There is nothing here to learn, but to remember who you are is everything. So that's what we have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also talk to them about meditation and how you use meditation and how it helps you in your daily life. Have a talk about that too. Okay.
As I looked at the wall today, the sublime light showed up, and when I looked at the sheets, the sublime light showed up. When I looked at the trash can, the sublime light showed up. It's like the pure, energetic, sublime light of God is everywhere, and everything behind, and intimately in all overlays. Why is the experience of this hyper-present, sublime, clear light so much easier to see when I listen to you speak, both in words and in silent presence? Is it like when two bells, one ringing at a supremely higher vibrational tone, excitedly activates the very same higher energetic potential in the momentarily lower vibrating bell?
We'll tell you. What happens is your mind is entraining to your own higher mind, you see. And that's what makes it easier for you to perceive it. Because you're allowing yourself to entrain rather than trying to get at or try to figure out. You are just simply letting go and allowing yourself to raise up, which is to entrain with higher frequency, you see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question. I think I have self-rejection because I cannot accept that I am dreaming or that I even started to dream. There's a huge sense of being worthless and not supported by life. The more I think of it, the worse it feels. It creates a strong sense of fear in my solar plexus. I wake up with it in the morning and it stays with me throughout the day, only changing in degrees. And I allow it to manipulate me. I don't know how to love my body or my mind, for one is illusion and the other created the dream and the suffering. How can I open up, accept, and be grateful for the present moment without making the dream real?
First of all, we're going to start at the very beginning, where you said that you can't seem to accept yourself. Is this right? Well, first of all, we want you to see how it feels that you don't try to accept yourself. Does this make sense? Meaning you just allow yourself to be as you are and remind your mind that in truth you are pure, undiluted innocence itself. Whether you believe that or not does not matter. But let go of the idea that you have to be the one to accept yourself. Does this make sense? And then going forward, you said,
I don't know how to love my body or my mind because the body's illusion.
Yes, and there was this about the dream. We want to remind you, everyone here is dreaming. Not a single person or anyone who seems to be here in the dream is not dreaming to some degree. There are some who are more awakened than others, but that's not important to you. What's important to you and for you is you see. Wake up and realize you are safe and you are here and you are now. Be in the now and let everything else go. All of those thoughts that come in, that disrupt you, that have this feeling that you are conveying in this question, is simply a distraction of the awareness of yourself who is with you at all times, you see. Yourself is not the body. Yourself is beyond the body. In fact, the body is a dream itself. Does this make sense? Forgive the dream. Forgive the thought. Just let it go and just be. Stop trying to get beyond it by trying to get beyond it, but just accept it for as it is and just go with life. Does this make sense? So, and another part of this question. You were saying you were having trouble accepting your body and accepting the dream.
Accepting the mind because the mind created the dream and the suffering.
And we want to tell you that mind is not the mind that is you. The suffering that comes from the ego mind that you made up, you didn't create it. Creation and making are different. To make is to do something that is not eternal. Creation itself is eternal and eternity itself. And luckily, the making up, the make-believe, is ephemeral. If it were eternal, it would be true. None of it is true. So breathe that in and be at peace. Does this?
And then she asks if how can she open up, accept, and be grateful for the present moment without making the dream real.
Well, first of all, you are aware right now that there is a story going on. The story is not you. You and the story are not one. But who you really are is beyond the story, is above the story, so to speak. actually it is above the story, but there is no distance or anything. How to be grateful? You just have to let go of the story, because it is the story that's blocking you from feeling gratitude. It is also saying to you, you have to have something to be grateful for. Whereas we want you to understand that gratitude in and of itself just is. You can always open yourself to gratitude itself without any conditions, without any reasons for it, you see. The little mind, the lower mind, is always going to tell you that you have to have a reason for gratitude, rather than just accepting and embracing the energy of gratitude, which is always present, the same as love, because it also is love. Does this make sense? Wonderful. Question.
Another question. Many of my dreams leave me confused in the morning. I wonder, what the heck was that? Can dreams that don't seem to make sense be used as a tool to undo the ego or bring forth things in the unconscious that need to be released?
Well, the only way that that would be is if you let it go. Don't think too much about it. You see, dreams, these kinds of things, can also become a very big distraction from your awareness of the now moment. And so if you could just let that go, if you wake up from a night dream and it seems to be clawing at your mind for you to notice it, just breathe and hand it to the Holy Spirit. It's a distraction. You want to be in the present moment now, you see. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
What advice can you give me for reaching an adult child who struggles with PTSD and feelings of worthlessness and does not believe in spirit or in anything beyond the physical world or in his intrinsic worth? Is there anything I can say or do that will truly help?
Well, first of all, don't try to convince him of spirit. Don't try to get him to agree with you about spirituality. But ask him things such as, what makes you happy? What do you feel would help you? Does this make sense? And be as accepting and allowing of him as you can be. In fact, we want you to just go ahead and just accept him and be allowing of him as he is, and trust that he is going to make it out of this. But hand it to the Holy Spirit as well along the way. Remember, as we were saying, don't try to convince him about spirit and don't talk to him about spirit, but just do your work on your end. You see, you're more powerful than you think. So,
Yes, makes sense.
wonderful. Extend kindness all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question? Can you talk about the way bringing back some of the silence when in meditation helps us to stay in the now in everyday life?
Will you say that one more time? Did you say breaking?
Can you talk about the way bringing back some of the silence when in meditation?
Well, first of all, don't try to bring it. Because by trying to bring it, you are bringing all the noise you possibly can and you won't find it. The best thing to do is just be in the silence. That's you not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, just being with what is, you see. That's where silence can be felt, you see. It's the busy mind that wants to begin to contemplate the past, think about the future, and all things in between. And that's not silence. So to be in silence is to just let everything go. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Wonderful. You don't want to try to make silence come in. Silence just is. You just want to allow it to be by you just allowing yourself to just be. Stop trying to get somewhere with meditation and just be with it. Just be in the quiet. Just make a decision, set an intention to have a quiet mind and see how far you go. It may not be all the time the first time around, you see, and then don't get mad about if the mind becomes busy again, but instead stop, forgive it, and let it go. So.
Another question. I have heard from a voice that I trust that when the body dies, we appear to go to an afterlife that is very pleasant, but still a world of the ego nonetheless. Perhaps this is because there too we perceive separate souls? And
we were just going to say that is a state of mind where you have not gone all the way, meaning you did not return all the way home. Does this make sense? Meaning if you return all the way home, if you come back into the oneness of totality of your source, you would not experience the ego anymore at all. In fact, the ego is not anything at all. The ego is not eternal. Therefore, the ego is really not there, whether it seems to be experienced or not. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
And he goes on, and this voice also said that awakening always happens here in the 3D body world rather than on the other side. Is this true? And
yes, it is true. Because it is here that you need to wake up. On the other side, complete and whole, we are talking about going all the way. You are already awake. Does this make sense? Meaning there is no more awakening, you just are. Or rather, you just is. We like to say that because isness is more clear than are-ness. Remember, oneness is. So
is no one doing A Course in Miracles in the afterlife?
No one needs to. You are that. You are that. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
And it would seem that without a physical body, the transition to my real mind should be much easier, or at least a path with fewer obstacles.
Absolutely. In fact, if you're doing the course, it will be very quick and easy for you to go from this to that, which this to that is really this to what you truly are, which is here and now. There is no real this and that. There is no distance because you already is. So, but yes, it is easier once you have these steps and you've been practicing these steps. It is not going to be that kind of jarring waking up, which sometimes, and this does happen, but less and less now that so many are awakening, that when you transition, you are much more able to just let go. You see yourself not as a body, but as spirit forever. Those in the past were so very much attached to their idea that they are a body that it was not as easy. Sometimes this still happens. There are those on the other side who come to help, to wake those who are confused still, so that they let go of the idea that they are a body. So you will have no trouble. Thank you.
Another question. Is there such a thing as a twin flame, and what does it mean?
Well, let's talk about it like this. Does it bring you inner peace? to think of a twin flame. We're waiting if the questioner is online. We'll just go ahead with this. You just want to be at peace. And so a twin flame is still another story, another layer to the story. Remember, there is no separation. You are all one. We are all one. Oneness is, and that is what you are. So that's what we have to say. Thank you.
This question, is the illusory nature of dream worlds akin to the pseudo-reality of a mirage in the desert, or a rope mistaken for a snake?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is the appearance of such illusions symptomatic of resisting or distorting perfect heavenly omni-source life
Absolutely.
flow?
You know this.
Thank you.
It's a distortion of true reality. But forgive it and let it go. Does this make sense?
Yes.
No analysis necessary. Remember, spirit accepts. The ego analyzes. Let it go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Another question?
Yes.
Is the true prayer a good way to meditate as the Course teaches?
Yes, it is. It's a very good way to meditate. Whatever meditation resonates with you, do that meditation. That goes for everyone. We want you to be free and trust your intuition. What feels best for you, do that. Does this make sense when it comes to meditation?
Thank you. I have another question.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as a life review after we transition out of this form?
In a sense. In a sense. But your life review is the review of everything beautiful. All the love that you gave, all the joy that you brought, all the light that you shared, you see. Anything that's pointed out to you is simply a passing. Just an overlooking, you see. Go beyond it. That's what is seen. That's what is shown to you. Does this make sense?
Waiting. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful.
Another question. It's conflicting for me to be grateful for having food, a roof, friends, and other things in the dream. The feelings are always related to others who don't have this. I feel sad even though I know it's me, the Christ. Could you please talk about true gratitude?
Yes, we can love to do this because we want you to realize that the one who feels bad is not who you really are. The one who feels bad is the false identity who wants you to look at the differences between yourself and everyone else, when we want you to understand there are no differences between yourself and everyone else, no matter what they seem to be experiencing. We want to really emphasize seem to be experiencing, because nothing here is real. Nothing here is real at all. Each one seems to have their own story, their own reason, and all of that. We want you to wake up from this and be who you really are, bringing joy to the kingdom all the time, which means to align with yourself as you truly are, who does not compare itself to anyone, you see. So gratitude is natural to those who see truly. And to see truly, you see no differences at all. You appreciate all because you see all as you as well, meaning at one with you. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
If God is always creating along with his sons, this appears to imply that there are always new creations to the kingdom that previously were not there.
Well, everything is there. Everything is here. Everything is now. Creations, absolutely. But to really understand creation is to understand love. Does this make sense? The creations are always of love. They are not different from love itself. And so the creations are extensions of love.
So it being love, it doesn't necessarily imply that prior to the new creation, God's kingdom was somehow less than it is now.
Absolutely. The kingdom is never less than it is. It always just is what it is. It is always expanding, you see. It doesn't stop expanding. It just is. And it is never less than.
So there's no implication of passage of time.
Correct. Time does not exist at all in truth. In true reality, in the mind of God, there is no time. You are timeless. That's isness.
So if God created me, was there not a time before when I did not exist?
Absolutely. Just feel that. There was not a time before you existed because there is no time. There is no time. You simply is, just as God is, you see. Just as God is, you is as well. There is never a time in which God did not exist. God is, and isness goes on forever. It was not born, and it cannot die. It just simply is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are those in this world who seem to have chosen a darkened path. Are these just seeming roles that need to be played out to aid in release and undo the ego?
Actually, the darkened path was made up by the ego. So what you want to do is let go of the story of there even being a darkened path, you see. Just let it go. Allow all others to be themselves. Each one has their own awakening, so to speak, in this world, you see. Because Holy Spirit will work with everyone at the level that wherever they are, that's where Holy Spirit will reach you. And so no matter what seems to be going on, that which is given to the Holy Spirit to use will be used. So, but there are no real darkened paths. Does this make sense? And don't get hung up on the thought of others who may seem to have darkened paths. And will that help with undoing the ego? Even the thought of it is more of a reiteration of the ego's presence. Does this make sense? Wonderful. You just want to let the whole thing go. Can you feel that? Just letting it all go and just being as you truly are. letting all others be themselves and just go along with your own awakening. Because remember, all minds are joined. As your mind awakens, so too does everyone else's. You see, don't worry about everyone else, but tend to your own mind. Does this make sense? Wonderful. So, any other questions?
You tell us to love the little kid inside ourselves. What exactly does this mean? Is the little kid the same as the person I believe I am in the dream?
You can, well, how do we want to put this? Your inner child is also a thought. But to love it is to show the mind that it is also love itself and not judge it. That's what we mean. Does this make sense? Don't make it anything more or less than it seems to be. Everything here is an idea. Your personality is an idea. The child from this is an idea. Just love it. Just be at peace with it and just extend love throughout your mind and to all of yourself, all of it, which is one with you and not separate at all. Does this make sense?
Yes, you answered the
Wonderful.
follow-up question.
Perfect.
And going on, if God's creation is ever expanding, what is it expanding into? What is there for God's creation to expand into?
It's beyond your comprehension.
Is it similar to empty space?
You could think of it as spaciousness itself. And spaciousness itself never stops expanding. Don't try to figure out what it's expanding to. Just allow it to expand, because you can't not allow it to. In truth, it just expands. It's always expanding.
Since God can only create like himself, is everything he creates an exact carbon copy of himself?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love creates only like itself. So love creates only love. Love only recognizes itself, you see. Everything else is overlooked and does not exist to it. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
The follow-up to that was, if that's true, then my earth mind asked, what is the point of creation at all? Why self-replicate if you already are and have everything?
You can't help it. You can't help but continue creation, you see. That's why creation is eternal. It can't help itself. In fact, it knows nothing but itself. So it just continues on. Don't try to analyze this. Don't try to figure out why. It just is. Remember that. Isness simply is. So, thank you. There's a question over there.
Letting go of the story seems to be a big key to happiness and peace.
Yes.
I see that when I retell the story and share it with others, this adds momentum to the story, and this is never happy or peaceful. Refraining from storytelling is, in a sense, my superpower.
You could think of it that way, absolutely. Because in that, you can extend only peace rather than stories. Try it out. Trust how you feel. You like how you feel when you are at peace. So extend only peace. And notice when the stories want to be told and it does not bring peace to you, step back and let it go. And turn your mind back to extension of peace. Practice this. It is a superpower. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question. All physicality is dream. Is heaven physical?
Not at all. Physical is illusion. Physical is completely illusion. Heaven is not physical. Physical is part of separation. There is no separation in heaven. Does this make sense?
Waiting. All physicality is dream. There are levels of physicality and wokeness.
Well, each step of the way, as you are awakening, you notice less and less of the physicality. Physicality begins to dwindle until it no longer exists in your experience. So it's not to become more physical at all. It's to become less and less dense and less physical. That's what happens when you're waking up, you see. You begin to pay less attention to the feelings the physical gives you and of that nature. Does this make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So as you wake up, you become less and less interested in making more and more physical. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
Yes, so here's a follow-up.
Yes.
Did God make the universe, and is it not physical?
No. No, God did not make the universe. God did not make physical. The illusion here, remember, the universe that you speak of, which we are assuming, we're going to assume you're talking about the cosmos. Is this correct?
Yes.
Yes. No, God did not make the cosmos. Your mind did. Your mind made up the cosmos. And you are right, it is physical. God knows nothing of physical, meaning physical and God are not one. Does this make sense?
Yes.
The cosmos is a story. The cosmos is part of the dream. Equally meant for forgiveness, you see. All of this, everything we speak of, everything in this plane of existence, everything here, everything in your experience is for your opportunity to forgive and let go and let God. That's really what all of this comes down to, is the extension of, as we were saying in the very beginning, uncompromising forgiveness. That means forgiveness without your own judgment, letting go of your own judgment and handing it to the Holy Spirit to be the one to decide for God for you, which will show you that nothing here is real and nothing here exists in truth. So you can easily let it go. Does this make sense?
Yes.
And now that doesn't mean you can't appreciate things of beauty that you find here. Remember, things of beauty are reflections of the divine, but don't make it real. Remember, that's part of the dream still. It can seem to be very beautiful, but it's still not the whole of everything, just merely a reflection. So,
I have a follow-on question.
go ahead.
Are there levels we have to elevate to, like ET forms that are
Not at
closer
all.
to light?
Not at all. You do not have to do anything. Remember, we have said this before, you need do nothing. And what we mean by that is you need do nothing of physical. Okay? doing something always involves the body in some way. Does this make sense? And so if you can let that go, there is no new body to get to. You see, that's still a rehashing and retelling of the story of form as though it is real. That's keeping up the dream. You want to let it all go and come back into your true reality, which is formless, which is isness itself, which is peace beyond your ability to comprehend at this point. But some of you have experienced it to one degree or another. Remember that. How it feels. You want that feeling. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So a follow-on question to that is, I need do nothing feels so good and correct. Does its realization rest in the knowing that we are infinite, immortal, innocent, omnisource,
Yes.
love, light, direct, pure
Yes.
emanations?
Yes. Now, when we say you need do nothing, it means you need do nothing of form in truth, you see. Meaning you don't need to do anything to be who you are. Does this make sense? Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this question kind of ties into that. When I have fully awakened, how will I be aware of you? How will you be to me? Will we have conversations? Do we interact? Do we share jokes and laugh?
Yes. In fact, you are unaware of it right now, but we're always sharing jokes with you and laughing with you. Who you really are is always laughing. Because nothing here is real. It is meant to be laughed off, you see, not taken seriously. As we have said before, how this came to be is you began to really take this experience way too seriously. You took it so seriously, you made it real to you. Whereas if you could just laugh it off and let it go and be light of heart, it will lighten up for you. Does this make sense? So we will, of course, you'll be more aware of our oneness in laughter and lightheartedness. That's what will happen. Because that is what is already happening. One just must train their mind to being aware of it. So, and that's about all.
Just
one more
little bit.
Sure.
Follow up to that. Doesn't this imply, though we may be of the same source, that there's a distinction that can be made between us?
Only now. Only in this experience. Meaning, we are not here in form. Does this make sense?
So we are not two?
Not at all, but one. We are one. We are one. And that goes for everyone. Everyone is one with you, and we are one with everyone. Not one is left out of oneness. It is simply a lapse in attention to it that you think that you're not one, but you are one, and we are one. We thank you all so very much. It is beyond words, our love for you, the love that we share, and that we are, and that you truly are. We are always with you, and we thank you for this opportunity to join with you. We love you, and thank you once again. All is well. Namaste.